Well, it's Sunday the 6th of February 2002. I'm down here on the River Ouse, and Dave Rushton, the president of the Leeds and District Amalgamated Society of Anglers, Leeds DASA, he's organised a piking session. And a chap called Adrian Mason, or aka Ady Woodchucker, he's come to show us what he does. Hopefully we'll pick up some tips. Anyway, Dave hasn't arrived yet. We're supposed to get sausage sandwiches at 9 o'clock. I suspect he's in his kitchen flogging away and knocking out sausages. It's not a bad day. Yesterday it was horrendous. I mean, today promises to be windy, but it's quite mild now, and it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. The middle of the night for me. And there's a good crowd here. All gathering, getting their gear together. Here's Ady Woodchucker.
That's what they call me. Call a lot worse, but that's what most people call me.
And this is his bagging.
It's one of my bags of tricks.
This is his bag of tricks here. He's got more apparently. Well,
there's a few pound in there.
I'm looking forward to seeing these. Well, this is the sausage and sauce. Dave, the president of Leeds DASA there, doing the honours.
Are you ready?
A man of many talents.
Ready? Ready, go. In a dead bite or load? Yeah, dead.
Well, that's a good start to the day. Well, the sun has made an appearance, which is quite nice because it's bleak. That wind is very cold. Well, everybody's served. Well, we're all making our way to the river for our demonstration. The sun's come out, it's really rather pleasant now. Hopefully the wind will die down. All gathered on the bank. I mean, hopefully there'll be there won't be much wind noise on the camera, but you can't tell. And the river is slightly coloured and coming up, which is not ideal for pike fishing, especially with lures.
There as well in the Netherlands, we've got probably some of the best pro staff in the world, special pike anglers. Pierre Mosher at this moment in time done over 129 metre fish this season so far. So, you know, the bloke's a machine. I'm lucky I'm fishing with him in April, so hopefully we'll catch a few fish. Right, the tackle, back out. Don't start yanking us straight away. You know, sometimes it's worth just flicking your rod a few times and things off. If it's stuck in, if you've got two trebles in there, 2 points for a treble in there, 2 trebles in there, no matter how strong your braid is, you're not going to get it back, you know, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm going to start with my favourite lure of all time, and it's actually, I've just been talking to lads here, and that's been in the mouth of 1920s. So it's been quite a good lure, and that's a Cobb's Countdown. Jack Cobbs over in America, he revolutionised jerkbaits fishing for big muskie and pike, and he started bringing these into the UK, and a company called Friendly Fishing was closed down now in the Lush. He had a load of these, these were 12 and 15 pound a time. They're now selling for another 40, 50 quid, and it's probably my fault, because when we first started doing it on River Pike and people started seeing me catching on these, and Paul started buying these, everybody bought these, and they've become actually quite cult status now. So I'm going to start with a jerkbait. I don't know what it's going to like in here, but you might all have to come really down close to see it. These probably weigh about 90 grams to 100 grams, so they're fairly heavy, but I mean, I'd drop one on that 5 anchor over there if I needed to do, so, you know, as long as you've got the right gear for it. We use
young keen lad. I've seen him on Facebook with some nice. He's been catching some nice fish.
Really strong rods.
Good to see.
You don't need that. You want sensitivity, and a lot of takes are slackline takes, so it's just a little tap on rod tip, or you've got, you know, when you've got pressure on the other line, right? I'm going to try. I'll do it small because it's going to happen. So I'll try and keep it as small as possible. Right. So I'll do it. I'll do it. I'm just scared of knacking all my braid up. Right. So if you hold it at that sort of an angle, drop it on the floor, you're going to get an overrun. See all this line, and that's what causes you problems. Now, if that had hit the water like that, you'd have had a massive spool, a line off. Right. So what we do, we've got a casting brake on them, and how we do it is we put as much tension. I'll put it on to sort of show you. And this is the best way to do it. No matter what anybody says, this is the best way to do it. You put your brake on almost completely. Right, you see how that goes much slower to the bottom, and you have nothing coming off it. Right, literally that is almost casting brake on completely. What I like to do, I like to take it all the way off. And what I do is I control the line hitting the water with my finger. So I'll just give one a thump out now. I take the brake all the way off, what I do.
And what's the advantage of that reel over a fixed spool then, Ady?
Distance casting. I'll pump one out. Now, just hope I can get it back in time before it gets pulled behind these trees. So you simply won't be able to do that with a fixed spool reel, not to that distance anyway. I'll bring it in just in case there's a massive. And accuracy as well. Obviously I don't have to start cupping spools and stuff, all I've got to do is slow it down slowly when we're done. And that's what I do. I don't actually have to look. I can, as soon as it hits water, I can slow it down. So I'll just give it a flick now. Just hits water. So I can also brake it as well. So if I'm going too close to a tree, you know what I mean? I'm not having practice cast here. I can judge how far that is going to work and how far it's going to cast just by doing that. Staying blacks and stuff like that. But trust me, if there's colouring water, you want it as much bright as possible. I've heard people saying you can use black lures in dark water, but me personally, I don't care if it's crystal clear or that. A lot of it's to do. A lot of people get stuck straight away thinking, well, I'll tell you what, I saw Woody the other day and they were catching an orange lure. I want an orange lure because Woody catched an orange lure. That's what I used on that day. Next day I might use a black lure or a brown lure. The best thing about this job, and especially young lads that are starting to do it, is you want to use the same lures over and over again until you suss out what's the best thing for them. Every lure has its day.
When you're in the swim then, you're talking about changing lures for colour-wise.
Yeah.
Are you changing lures whilst you're in one swim, or would you have that on for half an hour and be like, I've not had a follow or a hit? So then I'll change.
To be fair, it's a good question, but it all depends. If pike are on it, I mean, when pike are on it, you will know that you can put a turd on one of these with a set of trebles in it and they'll take it. You know, when they're absolutely on it, if it's an hard day and you know that there's pike in that swim, say that you've got a big slack and you've got a bit of a slack here in its margin, there's obviously something happening out here. You see currents changing here. There's some sort of a snag or something now, it could be off that tree. As that water's getting pushed off that tree and getting pushed out, it will leave a slack. But you see how it's all undulating water here? That tells me there's something a little bit naughty out there. I'd expect to see a crease, maybe not that undulation after it. So
That's not very encouraging for pike fishermen. Great raft of rubbish coming down there. And the river's coming up really quickly.
You'll see thermoclines in water, so you can see where the temperature changes. So generally you'll get cold at the bottom, you get a warm water column in the middle, and then cold at the top, especially on Windermere. And it can be 55, 60 foot deep, this water column, this thermocline, but you'll see all the bait fish are sat in it. You know, and when you go over like a hump, and the thermocline goes over the top of that hump, at the back of it you've got nothing. And so in other words, you've got a hump, and the bait fish stay in the middle, and you think to yourself, well, most of the bait fish will go down back of the hump and sit in there. They don't, they're staying in the warmer water, and the pike will hang out in them sort of areas. So it's a big thing about where the fish. Today I imagine I'm fishing probably over about 12 foot of water here. This stretch, to be fair, when I've fished it on boat, I've actually mapped it completely, and I wish I'd looked at it before I came. But I reckon you've got no more than 12 foot on a good day, all the way through the stretch. Apart from there, see that tower there, back of that tower, back of that tree there, where that fish has just come out and splashed on the surface. There's a big hole there, probably about 18 foot, it's probably the deepest hole on this full stretch. So, you know, the good thing is because I do cover a lot of water on boat, I actually know the water fantastic from the boat, but from the bank I'm not too sure. So, yeah, I mean, this on a normal day, normal conditions, no flooded water, that'll work on every single one of these. Far back from me, no problem.
He's just demonstrating some jerk baits.
Is it working?
Or jerk lures.
Now, on a normal day, what I do, because flow's going that way,
This one has a tail.
I always go from the left and across. Now what I start, it's easy to just cast as far as you can over there, bring it down that side, but what you've got to remember, most of your pike you're going to catch on a day are below you. They're here, they're out to the first 1/3 of the water. Most of the pike, I'll tell you now, I trawl this water on a regular basis. I'm telling you now, 95% of all fish come from a margin, or they come from the side of a tree, or behind a snag. You know, even no matter what's on the bottom, you know, if there's a big hole or anything like that, most fish are sat in the first third of water. So that's your most productive areas on both banks. So when I'm casting across, although I know this water's, we're going to struggle to catch in this today, I'll show you what I mean. So what I'd generally do, I'd work this, right, I'd work it from there. Now what I'll do, I'd fish this peg, and that lure will be working quite effectively across front of there until it gets caught in flow. And now it's in flow, it's a waste of time even having it there, so I'll retrieve it in. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to attack the first third and the last third of water. In the middle, with flow, you're going to struggle to catch fish in it. The pike aren't going to be there, so there's no point in your lure being there. So I'll bring that in quite quickly. And then last third, I'd fish it on this side. Now, what I tend to do when I start on a... Sorry, I've just got to follow that, did you see that?
No. Yeah.
Now, what I just usually do, I'd fish from that tree down this margin first, and I'd bring the lure all the way through this area. I'd work all this area before I start fishing on far bank. What you don't want to do is big splashes and stuff right over the top. I generally, if I'm going to fish something like this, I generally fish it from a few feet back from where you're probably stood. Now, a lot of people say, oh, that's no good, but you imagine, I can see with Polaroids down there, trust me, they can see you a long time before you get down. So if you come down, you whack your bag down, you start casting around, and then you'll have something surge off the margin. You're like, Jesus. The amount of times I've gone over top of a special wharf, go over top of the wharf, you go onto a bank like that, you see a fish power off from underneath you. So what I generally do, I actually stand a lot further back, and I'll probably fish it from like here. And you'll be surprised how many times fish are right there and come up and take lures really quickly from underneath you. Anybody who's been a lure fish will know that a lot of takes are right underneath your feet. They'll come in the last few seconds, just like that follow there. In the last few seconds, that lure coming out of water, they're following it all the way through. You know, so that fish might be sat anywhere in this next 25 yards and come in and take that lure. If you're stood up at the top of it and you start splashing to the far bank and reeling lures across really quickly, you don't want to do that. You want to be really stealthy how you do it. Bait anglers are exactly the same. When I go bait fishing, I don't stand right on the edge and start casting baits out. I stand back and drop the beer. I was talking to Sam and Paul. I had a real nice 22 off at wide that were literally there. You know, it was there. And with one little tiny crease, slack like this, I went down, slowly dropped a bait down, and I had an idea it'd be 5-6 foot. I dropped a bait down at margin, sat back, and it went in seconds. And he was supplying the guides over in Ireland with these mouse. So I knew about them about 10 years ago, but you could never get hold of them. And when you could get hold of them, they're like 85, 90 quid, because they're all individual made. Now, what it basically is, the most expensive part on it is the deer hair. And basically that's deer tail. So every single lure is a deer, basically. Now what they do is they go around the deer farms where they slaughter deer, and that's what they use the tails of the deer. That's why they're so expensive. People go on, oh, it's a lot of money for what it is. These have caught so many big pike across the world now. I mean, even musky anglers use these now. There's a bigger, longer version about that size. But the good things about these, they are brilliant because they go from fishing really shallow to really deep, depending. The more vibration you can put in the water, the better. You can do, especially today, to add vibration or flash to your lure is a bonus. I'll show you how Maurice working. Might have to put one without any weight on it all, but you'll see they move a lot of water. You see the movement of water in front of it, because they've got a flat front and it's actually made out of cork bottle.
So this is, lads, I mean, thanks ever so much, Ady,
no
for
problem.
coming.
It's my pleasure, lads.
He's gone out of his way, so take the time. He knows what he's doing, obviously. Don't feel, shy or embarrassed. Come and sit with him for half an hour.
Have a nice day, lads. No question stupid.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to sit with you.
You're more than welcome. You're no problem whatsoever.
I'll be honest. I'm born idle for a little bit of lack of confidence of doing that different. I generally straight ledge it. That's generally what I do.
Well, I mean, I see people ledgering on rivers, and to me, it's not the method. The reason why. I mean, listen, lads, if you want to get off and think, but the reason I don't use ledgers on rivers is because, say that the best spot on here probably is behind these trees, right? You know that. The problem is, if you're ledgering here and you want to drop a bait down there could be a branch out there, and if you're straight ledgering down to that branch, you can be straight to that branch. Now that fish goes out back of that tree, you wind down, you're pulling in, you're pulling through.
Yeah.
Well, that was very interesting. It's windy with a sort of smattering of showers. Anyway, it's 50 quid the kitty.
You know, you can get it down on the
And they're going to fish till 4 o'clock. And whoever catches the biggest fish will win the money. But it's just beginning to blow an absolute hoolie. And the river is still coming up very, very quickly.
Yeah, you do. Now,
Anyway, see you later. Well, I've just come down to have a look at the Ady's lures. This is a Mirius mouse, which is a top lure. But it looks an expensive piece of kit. You wouldn't want to be losing this.
No, you definitely don't want to be losing those.
This is called a squirrely bird. And this one is a Jack Cobbs. And there's a whole box full of them. I don't want to ask what they are, but I would imagine there's several £100.
There's quite a few quid in there.
Yeah.
I always say £20 a pocket, whichever pocket you're in, there's at least £20 in each one of them, so.
Good heavens. There's no lure fish today, it's dead bait.
Yeah, so this is my own personal rod. This is a handmade rod I had made in Sweden by a gentleman called Gary Benny. Gary Benny's the main man behind American Tackle in Europe. So he made me this after working for him at a tackle show over in Belgium. We had it on stand and I loved it, absolutely loved it. And this literally is the ideal design for me. It's absolutely stunning. 8'6", 130 gram casting weight. It's got a fast medium action on it. On top of it, I've got a Shimano Tranx 301, which is a new reel I've just got. I actually use BFT instincts on my CWC gear, my BFT rods. £80 braid, £175 trace. That's my baby, and it just casts for fun. It's a lovely rod. It's a lovely piece of kit, and it bends right to the butt.
The three lads here fishing, they've had nothing. Nothing at all. Well, that's the state of the river.
So what do you do? Yeah, I work full-time for selling fuel tankers.
It's
So I do have full-time.
still coming up.
At night time I'm up and see if I can find it.
Well, this water's creeping up behind me. The camera's sitting on an island. The original peg's just about underwater. Never turn around. It's going to absolutely hammer down. So, well, there comes a time when you just have to admit defeat. And I'm there now. And one or two I've seen decided to go home. So from the backs of the River Ouse here at Nunmonkton. I'll see you again. Take care. Well, the water temperature was 6 degrees, or 41 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's come up about 2 feet while I've been here, and it's still coming up now. Suddenly out of nowhere, it's absolutely horrendous. Sleet, gales. Absolutely ghastly.
Well, we tried here. It could be an online raffle, I think, for the Holland.
Oh, flat out. And stuff the cost.